Welcome to Crimes Beyond Borders, where we'll bring you the most thrilling true crime stories every single day. If you're fascinated by mystery, intrigue, and the darker side of human nature, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us as we unravel the most shocking and perplexing criminal cases from around the world. The story is about to begin after this intro.
From city streets to far-off lands, mystery slipping through our hands. Crimes beyond borders they speak, voices strong but words are meek. Every story leaves a mark, whispers softly in the dark.
Our stories at first are made for ourselves, to comfort us, to help us sleep, and to learn. Along the way, they become a part of our journey, teaching us English and fueling our passion for true crime. So, listen carefully, and if you're about to sleep, close your eyes. Let's begin. The story of Zacarias Moussaoui, the uncaught terrorist who turned himself in. Zacarias Moussoui's story is one of miscalculation, secrecy, and a stunning aftermath that saw him become the only person ever convicted in a U.S. court for his involvement in the 9/11 attacks. His role in the infamous terrorist act was not that of a mastermind, nor was he part of the hijackers who boarded planes that September morning. But his confession, given after years of imprisonment, connected him to one of the deadliest events in modern history, a fact that he didn't reveal until after he had been caught, raising chilling questions about how close he came to being part of the horrific plan. Early life and radicalization. Zacarias Moussaoui was born in France in 1968 to Moroccan immigrants. He grew up in a tough neighborhood, surrounded by racial discrimination and economic hardship, but his family managed to give him a decent education. Moussaoui was a bright student, earning a degree in economics and even winning a scholarship to study in the United Kingdom. But despite his potential, something was brewing beneath the surface. Like many young men from immigrant backgrounds in Europe at the time, Moussaoui became increasingly disillusioned with Western society, particularly the way Muslims were treated. His radicalization began when he encountered extremist ideologies while studying in London during the 1990s. Moussaoui was drawn to the rhetoric of militant Islamism, a growing movement among disillusioned young men looking for a sense of identity and purpose. This ideology, coupled with his feelings of alienation, made him susceptible to recruitment by extremist groups like Al-Qaeda. By the mid-1990s, Moussaoui had become a committed jihadist, making trips to Afghanistan to train in terrorist camps and pledging allegiance to Osama bin Laden's cause. The plot to join the 9/11 attacks. By 2000, Moussaoui had firmly embedded himself in Al-Qaeda's network. He traveled frequently between Europe, the Middle East, and the US, attending flight schools and showing a keen interest in learning how to fly large commercial airliners. He wasn't particularly subtle about his ambitions, often asking questions about flying planes without landing them, a red flag that raised the suspicions of several instructors. Moussoui's journey took him to the United States in early 2001, where he enrolled in flight training in Oklahoma and later Minnesota. His behavior quickly caught the attention of his flight school instructors, who were baffled by his poor flying skills and curious about why he seemed so determined to learn how to take off, but not land, a commercial jet. His erratic conduct and uncooperative attitude alarmed them enough that in August 2001, they contacted the FBI. On August 16, 2001, just weeks before the September 11 attacks, Moussaoui was arrested by the FBI in Minnesota on immigration charges. They couldn't quite put their finger on why he was such a threat, but they knew something was off. At that time, agents were unable to search his belongings thoroughly, as they lacked the necessary warrants and connections to link him directly to terrorist activity. Moussaoui remained in custody as the attacks on September 11, 2001 unfolded. He wasn't on any of the planes, but after the attacks, investigators began piecing together his suspicious activities. They discovered links between Moussaoui and key members of Al-Qaeda, including Ramzi bin al-Shia, However, it was Moussaoui's own actions after his arrest that truly sealed his fate. The confession that shocked the world. Despite his arrest before 9/11, Moussoui's involvement in the broader plot was still unclear to authorities. He refused to cooperate with the FBI, offering little insight into what he knew. In the months following the attacks, investigators grew more frustrated with him, and Moussoui's silence left many wondering whether he had been directly involved in the planning or if he was simply an aspiring jihadist who hadn't been assigned a mission. For months, Moussaoui played the role of the defiant terrorist, refusing to acknowledge his connection to the attacks. It wasn't until after being charged with conspiring to hijack planes as part of a broader al-Qaeda plot that he began to reveal the full extent of his involvement. His trial would take years, during which Moussoui's chilling admissions began to come out. In 2005, during his trial in federal court, Moussaoui shocked everyone by confessing to his role in the 9/11 plot. He claimed that he had been part of a second wave of attacks that al-Qaeda had planned but never executed. His target? The White House. Moussaoui stated that had he not been arrested in August 2001, he would have been part of a second wave of hijackers, tasked with crashing a plane into the heart of the US government. This confession left many stunned. Up until that point, the public had viewed Moussaoui as a sideshow, a bumbling wannabe terrorist who had been arrested on unrelated charges before 9/11 even occurred. But now, with his admission, he placed himself firmly within al-Qaeda's broader scheme, a chilling reminder that the attacks could have been even worse. But the question remained, why confess? Why would Moussaoui, who had steadfastly refused to cooperate for years, suddenly admit to being part of the plot? The desire for recognition. Some believe that Moussaoui's confession was motivated by a desire to be remembered as part of al-Qaeda's most infamous attack. He had been sidelined before the event, arrested before he could participate, and now he wanted the world to know that he had been part of the plan all along. His confession seemed like an attempt to claim his place in history, to prove that he wasn't just some outsider, but a key player in the jihadist movement. Moussaoui's testimony also included claims that were later challenged by al-Qaeda members, including Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind behind 9/11. Mohammed downplayed Moussaoui's involvement, calling him unreliable and not suitable for the operation. This only deepened the mystery around Moussaoui's role. Was he really meant to be part of the 9/11 attacks? Or was he trying to elevate his status after the fact? Regardless, Moussaoui's confession led to his conviction. In 2006, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is currently serving his sentence in the Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado, known as ADX Florence, where the most dangerous criminals in the US are held. The legacy of Moussaoui. Moussaoui's story is unique in the history of 9/11. While most of the perpetrators died in the attacks, Moussaoui lived, and his confession offered the world a glimpse into the mindset of a man deeply consumed by extremist ideology. His life before his arrest was filled with contradictions. A man who had the intelligence and opportunity to live a productive life, but instead chose a path of violence and destruction. Moussaoui may not have been on the planes that crashed into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Pennsylvania, but his involvement in the broader plot remains a grim reminder of the far-reaching tentacles of al-Qaeda. His arrest before 9/11 is often seen as one of the biggest missed opportunities to prevent the attacks, a case of intelligence failures and bureaucratic red tape that left Moussoui's true intentions uncovered until it was too late. In the end, Zacarias Moussoui's decision to confess didn't bring him the martyrdom he may have hoped for. Instead, it left him languishing in a cell, far from the battlefield, forever remembered as the terrorist who could have been, and the man who, despite being caught before the tragedy, revealed the terrifying scope of al-Qaeda's ambitions after the fact. The story has come to an end, but stay relaxed. If you feel yourself drifting off to sleep, just let the video play and enjoy the soothing music in the background. Let it guide you gently into rest. We'll be here, bringing you more stories every night. Sleep well, and see you tomorrow at 8 p.m.
whispers, cities asleep. Mystery in the air, it seeps. Flickering lamps dimly glow, secrets hidden where few will go. In the half-light, truth begins to show. Unseen forces pull and tow. Windows shut, curtains drawn tight. Lonely figures melt in the night. Echoes fade out of sight. Moonlight